All right, everyone. Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom. Uh, Peace be unto you, man. Happy Pesach. Happy day one of Feast of Unleavened Bread. To those keeping the feast right now, who kept the memorial of the Passover last night and celebrated it with, family and friends. Most High willing, throughout the feast season, each and every year, you know, as well as new people come into the truth and begin to celebrate the feast and holy days of the Lord. We just pray it's always, you know, filled with righteousness and more importantly, filled with uh, great memory of the sacrifices that the Lord made on behalf of the children of Israel, right? But more importantly, we want to give all praises, glory, and honor be to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob uh, for allowing us the opportunity to get on live, to fellowship with the people via the internet. Ones we fellowship with in person, we definitely appreciate the opportunity to come and, talk to the people, come and give our 2 cents of things that, we find in the scriptures and stuff like that. But again, Shabbat Shalom, first day of Feast of Unleavened Bread for I know a lot of people in the nation right now. So most high willing, you all have a mighty week of unleavened bread eating. Uh, but today's lesson or topic is just talking about, the word valiantly. And what I wrote in my notes is like the reason that I wanted to kind of talk about the word valiantly is because of what I was reading in First Chronicles. And it's really, a key word to describe how we should behave ourselves for uh, our people or the name of the Lord our God. And many may have, I guess you could say different, I'm not even going to say interpretations, but everyone has scriptures that you could go to point out, what your behavior should look like. But more importantly, um, just in the passage I read, it's one of the things that stood out to me how our people should act in terms of for the Lord. And you'll see what I mean as the lesson goes on, right? So let me share my screen. We're gonna get this first precept. We're gonna read and we're gonna build. But if somebody could read this starting off in First Chronicles 19.
First Chronicles 19 and 13. Be of good courage and let us behave ourselves valiantly for our people and for the cities of our God, and let the Lord do that which is good in his sight.
Right. So be of good courage and let us behave ourselves valiantly, right? For our people and for the cities of our God, right? This is a type of mindset and mentality that we need to have in today's time when it comes to dealing with the children of God that are scattered abroad, right? But what does the term valiantly means? Well, let's go to the definition. So I pulled up the blue letter, but I'm going to pull up the Google definition as well. Valiant. So let me share this tab. Right here, valiant, it says possessing or showing courage or determination, right? And the example it gave is she made a valiant effort, a courageous effort, a determined effort to hold her anger in check, right? And that's kind of powerful that they use that example, right? Let's go to the Blue Letter Bible real quick because the word valiantly or hazak, which means to strengthen, prevail, harden, be strong, to become strong, be courageous, be firm, be resolute, be sore, right? And it keeps going and it says the same thing, right? To strengthen oneself, to put forth strength, use one's strength, right? To make strong, strengthen, to make firm, to display strength, right? to make severe. So all of these are definitions of what we can see for the word valiantly. So when we go back to the book of First Chronicles 19, can you read this one more time, Brother Azrael?
First Chronicles 19 and 13. Be of good courage, and let us behave ourselves valiantly for our people, and for the cities of our God, and let the Lord do that which is good in his sight.
So when we read the word valiantly, we need to remember that, hey, we need to kind of strengthen ourselves or be courageous about this thing or have a determined mindset to do this thing. And this is what I meant when I was trying to preface everything that's being spoken right now in the introduction to this video by saying some people can use different words to kind of say the same thing. And that's where I take the stance on because it's my position that anything that you do for the Lord, you're supposed to do valiantly. You're supposed to strengthen yourself in the Lord to get it done. And that's why going back to that Yahoo example real quick of this definition, she made a valiant effort to hold her anger in check, right? I like that example because it's going to take us somewhere. Let's go to the book of Ephesians 4, right? Ephesians 4. And let's go to verse number 26.
I think some people
And we're going to
pronounce it.
read verse 26 um, through 28. Right. Matter of fact, let's read 26 um, through 32. So let's read Ephesians 4 26 through 32.
Ephesians 4:26 through 32. It says, "Be ye angry and sin not, let not the sun go down upon your wrath. Neither give place to the devil. Let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needeth. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers, and grieve not the Holy Spirit of God, whereby ye are sealed unto the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice, and be ye kind one to another, tender hearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sake has forgiven you."
Right. So again, it's my position that anything that you do for the Lord, you're supposed to do valiantly. When it says be ye angry and sin not in verse 26, you have to strengthen yourself, right? That's what it means to valiant. That's what the word valiant means to do, to be courageous, to be determined. You have to use, I guess you could say, synonyms, and a synonym of that is strengthen. You have to strengthen yourself, right, in the Lord to maybe have that anger, but not sin when you are angry. That requires great strength. You have to be a valiant person for the word of the Lord to, again, be ye angry, but not sin. Because we live in a world where people are not so courageous anymore. We live in a world full of cowards, right? People that are willing to pull out a gun on you just for the way you look at them. People that are willing to pull out a gun on you just because you laughed at them, right? So you have to be valiant, you have to be courageous, you have to be determined to do the things that are written in this book, right? And that goes for all things, especially when dealing with our people and things for the name of our God, right? So going back to the blue letter, well, not excuse me, going not back to the blue letter, but going back to First Chronicles, right? Let me share this tab in. If I can get it to share, cool. Going back to First Chronicles, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna exit out of the verse in particular, and we're gonna kind of go into why they were saying they had to be valiant, right? Um, so in chapter 18, it's pretty much summing up. David went to war. Uh, um, David went to war. He smoked the Philistines, then he smoked the Syrians, and then Abishai, slew the Edomites, right? So after they conquered these people and their land and their possessions, right, and they set up garrisons in certain cities and things, uh, this is where it comes to in chapter 19. So if we can read First Chronicles chapter 19, we can start at verse number 1. And we're going to just read, and then I'll stop, and then we'll jump.
Waiting for my computer to stop lagging.
Am I lagging?
No, my computer's lagging. I tried to
Oh,
open up my screen so I could see it. But this is First Chronicles chapter 19, verse 1. Now it came to pass after this that Naash, the king of the children of Ammon, died, and his son reigned in his stead. And David said, I will show kindness unto Salakia. And David said, I will show kindness unto Hanan, the son of Naash, because his father showed kindness to me. And David sent messengers to comfort him concerning his father. So the servants of David came into the land of the children of Ammon to Hanan to comfort him. But the princes of the children of Ammon said to Hanan, Thinkest thou that David doth honor thy father, that he hath sent comforters unto thee? Are not his servants come unto thee for to search, and to overthrow, and to spy out the land? Wherefore Hanan took David's servants and
right. So
shaved them.
real quick before you keep reading, Salakia, real quick before you keep reading, I wanted to make a point on that, right? So again, this is after when it says in verse 1 of this chapter, when it says, now it came to pass after this, right? The this is, remember what we talked about, David conquering the Moabites and they became his servants, and the Edomites and they became his servants, and the Philistines and the Syrians, right? This is taking place. So the king of Ammon died, and now all of a sudden, the council of the children of Ammon said that, hey, they're coming to spy out the land, kind of conquer us, right? Again, one thing about being valiant is you got to understand that when you are such a courageous, when you are such a strong person, because you have a certain reputation about yourself, sometimes people think your intentions are bad when you come to meet them, and that's how it happens a lot of times. And as well as people are valiant for the things of the Lord, there are also people that are valiant for the things of the devil, right? Some people are valiant to be deceivers, right? They're valiant deceivers. They're very determined deceivers. They strengthen themselves to deceive. Just like sometimes when people don't understand first in rebuke, in this specific scenario, David is coming to show honor, but these people are thinking that, hey, David is against them. He's about to come overthrow us, right? So just keep that in mind. But you can keep reading. I'm sorry.
Wherefore Hanan took David's servants and shaved them, and cut off their garments in the midst hard by their buttocks, and sent them away. Then there went certain and told David how the men were served, and he sent to meet them, for the men were greatly ashamed. And the king said, Tarry at Jericho until your beards be grown, and then return. And when the children of Ammon saw that they had made themselves odious to David, Hanan and the children of Ammon sent 1,000 talents of silver to hire them chariots and horsemen out of Mesopotamia and out of Syria Ma'akah, and out of Zobah. So they hired 30 and 2,000 chariots, and the king of Ma'ak and his people, who came and pitched before Medeba, and the children of Ammon gathered themselves together from their cities and came to battle. And when David heard of it, he sent Joab and all the host of the mighty men. And the children of Ammon came out and put the battle in array before the gate of the city. And the kings that were come were by themselves in the field. Now, when Joab saw that the battle was set against him before and behind, He chose out of all the choice of Israel. It's lucky. He, cho- he chose out of all the choice of Israel and put them in array against the Syrians. And the rest of the people he delivered unto the hand of Abishai his brother. And they set themselves in array against the children of Ammon. And he said, if the Syrians be too strong for me, then thou shalt help me. But if the children of Ammon be too strong for thee, then I will help thee. Be of good courage, and let us behave ourselves valiantly for our people and for the cities of our God, and let the Lord do that which is good in his sight. So Joab and the people that were with him drew nigh before the Syrians and unto the battle, and they fled before him. And when the children of Ammon saw that the Syrians were fled, they likewise fled before Abishai his brother, and entered into the city. Then Joab came to Jerusalem. And when the Syrians saw that they were put to the worst before Israel, they sent messengers and drew forth the Syrians that were beyond the river. And Shaphat, and captain of the host of Hadarezer, went before them. And it was told David, and in the gathered of all in the and he gathered all Israel and passed over Jordan and came upon them and set the battle in array against them. So when David had put the battle in array against the Syrians, they fought with them. But the Syrians fled before Israel, and David slew of the Syrians 7,000 men which fought in chariots, and 40,000 footmen, and killed Shaphat, the captain of the host. And when the servants of Hadarezer saw that they were put to the worst before Israel, they made peace with David and became his servants. Neither would the Syrians help the children of Ammon any more.
So, in conclusion, and salat to the brother Azrael, because I didn't intend for him to want to read the whole chapter, but I felt like if I cut him off from reading, really the points would be missed, because what we just read is pretty much how David was valiantly and Joab and Abishai valiantly defending the people of the Lord, right? Again, David went to send servants to, uh, I guess you could say, honor these people, during their time of grieving. The people had people that was like, oh, these people are coming to destroy us, and then it turned into a war. You know what I'm saying? So pretty much reading that chapter again, just going to show how sometimes you have to behave in terms of defending the faith, right? Defending the people, defending the land, defending the cities, just being a defense for the name of the Lord our God, right? You have to be valiant. And more importantly, that goes in all aspects. Like we went to Ephesians 4. We didn't go to Ephesians 4 to just kind of just be like, yeah, see, you gotta be angry and sin not. That wasn't the point. The point is that the mindset in terms of to how you have to behave yourself, or how you have to approach, the spirit of anger, right? It has to be a valiant mindset for the Lord, because you got to think about it. The weightier matters of the law of God are judgment, mercy, and faith, right? So though, as well as you believe the positive things that we see in the scriptures from the Lord, like he'll make us a great nation, we can have the kingdom. The kingdom of heaven is joy, peace, and this, and you will be given a crown in that day. You can wear a robe of white linen, right? As well as you can believe all the good things, all the great things, you also have to believe the judgments that are associated with sin. Because why? Judgment, mercy, and faith. And the way you attack everything that you do for the Lord valiantly is by remembering those judgments, by keeping the faith, but also showing mercy unto those who need it, like we read at the end of Ephesians chapter 4, right? So, valiant, that's the word of the day. The word of the day, valiant, right? Because again, it requires great strength. And that isn't the only place where the Lord told us to be valiant, right? Let's go to somewhere else. Let's go to the book of Psalms 60, right? Because there are other places where you see that same word being used, right? Um, let's go to Psalm 60. I don't want to read this whole chapter like we just read, Salakia, but um,
Nah, brother, give him some of that work too.
listen, nah, bruh, I'm not trying to do that, man. I didn't intend for you to do that either. But I guess we can start at verse number uh yeah, let's just start at verse number 2 because these short verses anyway, right? So let's start at Psalm 60 and let's start at verse 2 and we just gonna read to the end.
The book of Psalms, chapter 60, and verse number 2. Thou hast made the earth to tremble, thou hast broken it. Heal the breaches thereof, for it shaketh. Thou hast showed thy people hard things. Thou hast made us to drink the wine of astonishment. Thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee, that it may be displayed because of the truth. Salah.
Be-
That they
Before you
that
keep
thy
reading, jump down to Salakia. Before you keep reading, just jump down to verse number 8.
verse number 8. Moab is my washpot. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Philistia, triumph thou because of me. Who will bring me into the strong city? Who will lead me into Edom? Will not thou, O God, which hath cast us off, and thou, O God, which did not go out with our armies, give us help from trouble? For vain is the help of man. Through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies.
Right. Through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies, right? Everything we're going to do it valiantly, right? Because that's the word of the day, you know? That's why the title to this lesson is valiantly. It's the word of the day. It's the one word that when you read it, it can encompass many things, or you can attack everything in life that way, valiantly, right? Everything that you do in life. If you want to be somebody that if you want to be somebody that wants to be a manager, right? You have to be a valiant manager, right? Because again, according to Yahoo, valiant means to be courageous or determined, right? According to the Blue Letter Bible, it means to make strong, to strengthen, right? To be courage, to have courage. So the word encompasses many things. And the best way to attack everything that you do is that way, valiantly, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 31 real quick. Deutron. Deuteronomy 31. Am I lagging by chance?
Nah,
Definitely need to put a Wi-Fi strengthener in this piece. I feel like I am though. I'll read this because I know the brother Azrael ain't on screen right now. This is Deuteronomy 31 and verse number 6. Let me
it's not
start. Let
on
me
the
share this
screen
tab.
yet.
Deuteronomy. Yeah, I got it. Deuteronomy 31 and 6. It says, Salah. Deuteronomy 31 and 6. And it says, be strong and of a good courage, fear not, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord thy God, he it is that doth go with thee. He will not fail thee nor forsake thee. Right? What you said?
Nothing.
Con. It says, verse 7. And Moses called unto Joshua and said unto him in the sight of all Israel, be strong and of good courage, for thou must go with this people unto the land which the Lord hath sworn unto their fathers to give them, and thou shalt cause them to inherit it, right? And the Lord, he it is that doth go before thee. He will be with thee. He will not fail thee, neither forsake thee. Fear not, neither be. neither be dismayed, right? So in Deuteronomy chapter 31, 6 through 8, we can see the same terminology was used just like in the beginning of First Chronicles 19 and 13, the very first verse we opened this lesson up with, right? Be of courage, be strong and of good courage. Fear not, right? Be valiant. That's all it's saying. Be valiant. Because everything that we do in life, we're going to have to be that V word. I'm going to repeat it times because, like I said, I'm gonna repeat it a million different times because, like I said, it's the word of the day. You know, it's the word that, again, when you look at it, it can apply to every aspect in life, whether good or bad. But we know that we're supposed to use the things that we find in this word for the righteousness of the Lord, for the good, right? Uh, let's go to somewhere else real quick. Um, to be valiant. Salakia.
I do believe it's pronounced valiant though. Um, I think it derives from the
Valiant.
word. Yeah, I think it derives from the word valor, like men of valor.
Con. So valiant, right? Valiant. I'll make sure to say it like that.
I mean, it's kind of, I ain't gonna lie, when you're reading it, it's kind of, your mind doesn't necessarily go to that pronunciation, but I think it is valiant though. That English
Con.
language.
I was looking for con. So like the brother Denal said, valiant, right? Valiantly. So let's pronounce the word right. Right now, this is Exodus chapter 34. Um, uh, we're gonna read verse 1 and then um we're gonna jump down to verse 7. Yeah. We're gonna read verse 1 and then we're gonna jump down to verse number 7, and then we're gonna read a couple verses after, right? We're not gonna read this whole chapter. But if y'all can see this Exodus chapter 34, let's start at verse number 1 real quick.
Exodus chapter 34, starting at verse number 1, it says, "And the Lord said unto Moses, Hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first table, which thou breakest." Verse number 7,
Right?
"Keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin,
Let's
and that will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of their fathers upon the children and upon the children's children unto the third and to the fourth generation."
Salaki. Khan. So let's jump down to verse number 10. Let's jump down to verse number 10 real quick. And let's
Verse
read through uh we're gonna jump down to verse 10 and we're gonna read through verse number 15.
verse number 10. And he said, "Behold, I make a covenant before all thy people. I will do marvels such as have not been done in all the earth, nor in any nation, and all the people among which thou art shall see the work of the Lord. For it is a terrible thing that I will do with thee. Observe thou that which I command thee this day. Behold, I drive out before thee the Amorite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite, and the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite. Take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land whither thou goest, lest it be for a snare in the midst of thee. But ye shall destroy their altars, break their images, and cut down their groves. For thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord whose name is jealous is a jealous God. Lest lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a whoring after their gods, and do sacrifice unto their gods. And one call thee, and thou eat of of his sacrifice, and thou take of their daughters unto the son
Yeah.
to thy sons, and their daughters go a whoring after their gods, and make thy sons go a whoring after their gods.
Con. So reading all that, and the water to the brothers for reading all that because again, the word of the day, valiant, right? And the only reason I'm bringing up these passages is to show behavior that resembles, uh, how to be valiant, right? And this is one of those things where you come to read, and I'm making that point because in today's time, a lot of people feel as if like the word of God, it's a word where, or it's a belief system that's set up to believe that you have to be cool and cordial with everybody. And by everybody, I'm not talking about persons in specific. I'm talking about religions. I'm talking about walks of life, beliefs, if you will, right? So a lot of people believe that as believers in the Bible, we have to accept everything that someone may practice or follow, regardless if it's the word of God or not. Why? Because they believe that to be a good servant of God is to accept all people. They believe that to be a true spiritual person is to accept all walks and religions. And that's not true because we can see here the Most High God commanding people not to take part in people's customs, right? We can see here the Most High God commanding people not to be, I guess you could say, fools in a sense, not to marry these people, right? Because why? These people will cause you to sacrifice to their gods. These people will cause you to serve their gods. These people will cause your sons, if they take their daughters to marry, they will cause your sons to sacrifice and serve their gods, right? So again, this is not behavior that is comely to the topic, to be valiant. They're valiantly breaking the commandments of the Lord, right? But you have to valiantly understand that the Lord commanded us that we don't have to accept everything. So saying that to say, even in today's time, right? When you're talking about being a valiant man or a woman for the Lord, you got to remember you have to be that in all things that the Lord said be it in, right? Which includes doing away with certain religions, not accepting, you know what I'm saying, to receive the doctrines of devils, not to give heed to seducing spirits. All of those things require you to be valiant for the Lord of God for, because God commanded us to be valiant in that sake for it, right? I hope I'm not lagging because, you know, I'm just trying to be clear. Okay, brother shaking their head now, but God, that like I said, that's the word. That's the word of the day. I had another place that we can go to real quick. Let me see. I had another place to go to. I'm in. It's coming out of the book of Second Maccabees. Let me see. I mean, First Maccabees. I was looking for.
4 and 35, starting at verse 41 or 40.
You know what I'm looking for?
Yeah, I was gonna go there.
Oh, okay. Well, pull it up real quick. What's the chapter?
It's First Maccabees chapter 4. Uh, First Maccabees chapter 4, verses. I was gonna go from 31 to 35. 35 is the point, but setting the stage is the prayer before they go to war.
Yeah, Khan. That's exactly what I was looking for, Khan. But go ahead and I'll read it. I'll read it. You can break it down.
Nah, I was just gonna get it. You
Let
didn't
me
touch it,
see.
so you can break it down. It don't matter.
Nah, you good. You good. The Lord put it on your heart because I was looking for this, but I pulled up the wrong chapter. I was in chapter 2. But Kyle, this is First Maccabees chapter 4. I'm gonna start at verse 31 through 35, and it says, "Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen.
You want me to
Make them
pull
to
it
be
up?
of no courage." Y'all can't see it?
Nah, it's still on the last one, I think. Oh, never mind, never mind, never mind, never mind, never mind. My computer lagging. It's up there.
Oh, God. So First Maccabees 4, starting at 31 again, it says, "Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. And cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving." So they joined battle, and there were slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men. Even before them were they slain. Now, when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judas's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went to Antiochia and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he purposed to come again into Judea.
Right. And so I was gonna go here just because I was gonna show that um, even though you pray for something, that doesn't mean that you can't do your part, or that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do your part, right? Um, a lot of times, if we go into battle and we're scared that we're gonna lose in the midst of the battle, and we're going and we're not confident that the Lord's going to be on our side, a lot of times we'll end up losing. Right? I say that because that's a lack of faith. If God already told you, if you went to God in prayer before you went, and God told you, because you shouldn't be doing nothing or going to war about anything unless God answered you, first of all, right? And if God told you, hey, y'all gonna win, or yes, you should go to war. You should have that faith to go confidently and valiantly, right? It's been a video going around this past week on social media of a brother. He just made a video about it like 2 days ago, I think, and he was saying, "Don't pray for something you're not willing to work for," right? Kind of like one of the earlier precepts that the brother Isaiah brought out in today's lesson. Um, with the two fleets of armies of Israel, one going one place, one going to the other place. But they came together and said, "Hey, look, let's do this for our people, but let us be valiant, because our people depend on it, and they're doing it in the name of God, right?" So here it's saying the same thing, right? They had to be valiant. So they could pray the prayer that all they want, right? I think I want to mention this part about the prayer. It says, "Cast them down with thy sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving," right? No, 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 no. Verse 32 says, "Make them to be of no courage. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away." That doesn't just miraculously happen, right? They have to confront, deal with, or come to something to make them lose courage, to make them lose boldness. And that's the valiantness, or the valor of us, right? So when he saw that they were valiant, ready to live or die, that's when he was turned away and he had to go recoup, right? He had to get his house in order, right? Before he lost the battle, because he saw how valiant they were, right? So I always like to say, when we talk about this word, we see the valiance of the American army, Babylon's army, and that's why they've subdued the whole earth, because people see how, you talk to some of them, Edomites that's in our military that eat weights for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and can run 10 miles, and they doing everything but pumping steroids, and they probably pumping steroids. You see them and that fatigue over there in the desert with guns in their hand. A lot of people, they put to flight. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people get scared of that because of the how valiant they are, right? Same thing when you think about terrorists. The only thing people are scared of more than the U.S. Army are terrorists, right? When you think about our cousins or our first cousins or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Technically, our half siblings over there in Ishmael. When you think about some of them, right, and some of Japheth over there, right, and how they're willing to kill themselves, right? They're ready to live or die. A lot of people are in fear of them because of how valiantly they are. We have to be valiant for our God, right? We're valiant for a lot of things. We're valiant in gang activity, and people are afraid of us because of gang activity. We're valiant being YNs. We're valiant in playing sports, right? You get on that field or that court or what that whatever, right? You want to be so valiant that the other team is scared to play you. But imagine if we put all that effort and energy into keeping the laws of God and defending the laws of God, right? So that's the same valiantness that we need, right? To subdue the enemy. So a lot of people say, we don't need to be aggressive. We can win them over with love. We can X, Y, and Z. But there has to be a certain amount of fear put in them for them to respect what we have going on, right? And it's a right way and a wrong way to do it, but we should have that in us to where they look us in our eyes and they're scared. They're scared to say the wrong thing in front of us, right? They're scared to eat pork around us. Right now, people don't have that fear in their heart because we don't show valiantness, right? We're not valiant in front of them, right? But if we were putting people to death, punching people in the mouth, if we was tackling people, right, they would think twice about what they say and what they do around us. But instead, we have family members that will feed us pork. Instead, we'll have family members that'll sing happy birthday around us. We have family members that will give us Christmas presents knowing that we don't celebrate, give us Christmas cards knowing we don't celebrate because we're not valiant. We haven't been valiant, right? But if we were valiant, like Judas Maccabees, like the three Hebrew boys, like Daniel, like the armies of David and things of that nature, right? People would start respecting us like they respect these terrorists, like they respect the Nation of Islam, right? They respect the Nation of Islam because at a certain point in the Nation of Islam, they started the whole marching thing, right? We see Israelites marching now, but when we go back to it, it was, the Nation of Islam that started the whole marching thing and having high numbers of our people, right? Then we see the Black Panthers, they had a certain respect, right, that was given to them. People didn't talk any kind of way around them, right? Now, and because of that, certain psyops and certain assassinations and things occurred, right? Because hey, when you're gonna be valiant, you got to understand there's gonna be some people to try you back as well. But when you depend on the Lord and when the Lord's on your side, that's the difference. When the Lord's on your side, like this prayer says, you know, uh, their boldness and strength will fall away. It says, let them be confounded in their power and their horsemen. So if anybody comes up against us and our valiantness, right, they're going to be, confounded, right? But that's why we have to do it with God. We can't do it of our own fruition, right? But I yield. I know I said a lot.
Nah, you actually said great things because, again, the whole purpose is not to pull up every account in the scriptures and show how every account in the scriptures people valiantly executed X, Y, and Z. The point is to pull up accounts in the scriptures where you can see people being valiant for the Lord, right? Let's go to another place real quick, right? This is Second Maccabees. This is a common place that we go to, but this is often a place that I would like to go to because, again, this requires great faith, right? Judgment, mercy, faith. These people had experienced all three of that in the same manner. So this is Second Maccabees, chapter 7. Let's start at verse number 1.
Second Maccabees, uh, said chapter 11 or 7.
Second Maccabees 7:1.
Con 7:1. It came to pass also that seven brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh, and were tormented with scourges and whips. But
Hey,
one
so
of them,
pause real quick. pause real quick. So starting off, we can see that it was a mother, right? A Hebrew mother, an Israelite mother, and her sons that were taken, and we were in captivity, and the king was threatening them, hey, eat eat swine's flesh. Everybody knows that it's against God's law for people to consume pork, right? The children of Israel to eat swine's flesh. So we're not going to get into the whole account now. Let's look at just let's jump down to verse number 3. Let's jump down to verse 3, and we're going to
Verse
read
number
through
three.
5.
Verse number 3. Then the king, being enraged, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot. I go to your house right. Verse number 4. Which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first, and to cut off the utmost parts of his body, the rest of his brethren and his mother looking on. Now, when he was thus maimed in all his members, he commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire and to be fried in the pan. And as the vapor of the pans was for a good space dispersed, they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully, saying thus: The Lord God looketh upon us, and in truth has comfort in us, as Moses in his song, which witnessed to their faces, declared, saying, And he shall be comforted in his servants.
Right. So let's read verse 7.
Verse number 7. So when the first was dead after this number, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head with the hair, they asked him, Wilt thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body?
Right.
But
So these people are being persecuted, right? But they're valiantly standing bold for the word of the Lord, or they're standing bold for the word of the Lord valiantly. Why? Because again, these people are strengthening themselves and encouraging themselves in the Lord. It's the same thing that David did when you go to the book of Second Samuel, and he went to Ziklag to recover everything that was sieged. It said he strengthened himself in the Most High, right? David told them to bring hither the ephod, right? The brother Azrael did a lesson on that many, many years ago. Bring me the ephod, talking about how David, when he went to go recover the people, it said he strengthened himself in the Most High. The same way the mother and the 7 sons here are strengthening themselves. Now, we don't have to read the whole chapter because it's a very extensive chapter, but nonetheless, it's good information to show how we are supposed to live valiantly for the word of the Lord. We're supposed to be courageous for the word of the Lord. And that includes being ready to die manfully for the word of the Lord too, to not transgress the word of the Lord. You see what I'm saying? This applies to all aspects of life. The same thing the brother Azrael read in First Maccabees 3, the same things we're reading right here in Second Maccabees chapter 7, the same thing that we went to in Exodus chapter 34 when it told us to pretty much burn the idols that these other nations try to bring up against us, right? Destroy their groves, break down their images, all of those things. We're supposed to do all of that valiantly for the Lord. Because again, it's the word of the day. But not only is it the word of the day, it's the word that you can apply every aspect of life. You can apply that word to every aspect of life, right? It's one more chapter I want to go to, back in First Maccabees, because I do want to go back to chapter 2, even though chapter 4 was where I was looking for initially. But let's go back to First Maccabees chapter 2 real quick, because it was something in there that we could have used too as an example. Um, let's see. Um, let's see. Let's start at verse number 31. So let's read First Maccabees. This is chapter 2. Let's start at verse 31.
First Maccabees chapter 2 and starting at verse 31. Now, Slocky, let me open up my screen again. Now, when it was told the king's servants and the host that was at Jerusalem and the city of David, that certain men who had broken the king's commandment were gone down into the secret places in the wilderness. They pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them, and made war against them on the Sabbath day. And they said unto them, let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth, and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment, to profane the Sabbath day. So then they gave them the battle with all speed. Howbeit, they
Salakia.
answered,
So before you keep reading, verse 34, very important. What did he say? But they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. The same thing that the sons and the mother went to go on and say in Second Maccabees chapter 7, right? We're not going to break the king's commandment. The same thing is why Daniel was placed in the lion's den for not wanting to yield to the king's commandment, because the king made a proclamation, right? That you had to pray to him, I think, for 30 days, right? But he chose not to take heed to the king's commandment. Therefore, he was placed in prison. So we can see all throughout the scriptures of people living valiantly for the Lord, right? Now, let's jump down. Let's keep reading.
uh,
Let's keep reading. I wasn't going to jump down, but we can keep reading.
So then they gave the battle with all speed. Howbeit, they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth will testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. So they
Right,
rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and their children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people. Now, when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and our laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. At that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against them. Neither will we die all as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places.
right.
Then came, go ahead.
Now, keep going. Keep going. It's going. You can finish at verse number 44.
Then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel, Slakia, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. Also, all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them, and were a stay unto them. So they joined their forces, and smote sinful men in their anger, and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathen for succor.
Right. I'm going to read these last two verses because, again, that word. It says, then Mattathias and his friends went round about and pulled down the altars. And what children soever they found within the coast of Israel uncircumcised, those they circumcised valiantly. Right? So at the end of the day, all of these accounts we're reading is not accounts that we just want to read for the fun of it. You know, like I said, these are accounts that we can go to show how you're supposed to live as a standard for the Most High God, for the name of the Lord, for His people. You know, this word right here is a staple word that everyone should govern their lives by. The word valiant or valiantly, right? Because everything that you do for the Lord is going to have to be valiant. You know, you're going to have to be courageous, and to an extent, like it talks about in the New Testament. I forgot the specific verse. I think it's in Romans 8, where it says something to the nature of, "We are fools for Christ's sake." You know, you have to be fools for the name of the Lord. People think you're crazy because you tell them you don't celebrate Christmas, right? People think you're crazy because, oh, you don't eat pork. People think you're crazy because, oh, you don't celebrate birthdays, right? They try to minute the laws of God to an extent. You think God really gonna really gonna send you to hell over something like that? They try to justify their sins, right? But again, we have to be valiant and stand on 10 toes for the name of the Lord our God, similar to having great faith, right? You have to be valiant in all things that you do. Again, that's why we went to be angry and sin not, because as well as there are other places in the Psalms and in the Proverbs that we can see wisdom on somebody ruling and controlling their anger. People have to be valiant about the commandments of the Lord to do so. Why? Because as well as we believe in the prosperity of the Lord, you also have to believe in the judgments and justice of the Lord as well for breaking the commandments. We have to valiantly believe that the Lord will punish us for sin, because Paul wrote in Romans 6 and 23, for the wages of sin is death. Nothing new, right? Under the sun. But key word of the day, valiant, and all this came from me reading in the book of Chronicles and literally seeing that and thinking about how valiant we should be for one another for the laws of God's sake. Like the brother Azrael said earlier, we're so valiant for the wrong things, being in gangs, being great teammates, or even schools. I went to an HBCU and we had a rival HBCU school. And every time we played them in football, we'd be ready to fight each other just because we went to different schools. So if we're valiant for HBCU football beef, if we're valiant for dance team beef, if we're valiant for gang life beef, how much more valiant can we be for the word of the Lord? You know? But with that, I'll just yield to time remaining. And if brothers had anything to bring out, you can go ahead and do so. But yeah, valiantly, word of the day, word of the week, word of life.
Yeah, I got a precept.
Con.
Zechariah 12 and 8 says, "In that day shall the Lord defend thee." You can.
I knew I typed Zechariah correctly, but for some reason, this thing hates me.
Was
So let me share
was
my screen.
Zechariah.
Well, I typed it right, but for some reason they said I spelled it wrong. You want to start at verse 8?
Yeah. Well, it's just verse 8.
Oh, okay.
But it says, "In that day shall the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them." Right? Just bringing that out to say that, man, we might not seem as valiant as we should be right now as a whole, but best believe in that day, man. Whether you are a Israelite that is compelled and that is called, or you're not, or you're from another nation, right? The valor that we'll show in that day will be known, right? And the fear will be on people's faces. I think, just paraphrasing the Bible, it says, "Woe to them that look forward to that day." Just talking about the dread of that day, right? And then for right now, man, when we keep in mind being valiant or showing that valor, that's why we have precepts like be ready to answer any man with the faith that lies within you, right? We have precepts that say, the wicked flee, but the righteous are bold as a lion, right? That's how we be valiant right now. And it's one thing we have to work on every day, right? When we go on our jobs, whether we're in the house, we talked about this at men's night, right? Just being a valiant husband or a father, right? We have to, be in that mode to understand in certain situations, we shouldn't, we should carry ourselves a certain way, whether we're upset or not, you know what I'm saying? Or just going to work. And that pressure's on you to work on Saturday. That pressure's on you to do something that's out of your moral conduct. It's that valor that will compel us to be valiant, even when we go out into the world, knowing that the Most High has our back. Whether we lose a job, lose a friend, lose a family member, or a familiar relationship, We know that God is replacing it with something better. And if anything, we know He's replacing with these laws, statutes, and commandments, which He's graced upon us, right? But with that, I yield, man.
Come on, man. I just want to remind you guys of where valiance or being valiant comes from. It comes from a sense of confidence, and the confidence that we're getting is from the Lord, is from God, it's from the Most High, right? I have two precepts, but I could just read them real quick. You don't have to go to them. Psalms 55 and 22. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. Right? So you should get confidence in knowing that you're not going to be moved when you trust in God. Right? And so that will cause you to move with a certain confidence. Like, you know how when somebody sees somebody and they're like, man, they moving, why they moving so boldly, man? They moving like they don't care. They moving so confident, right? They have a sense of confidence. You see somebody that's doing something that the average person wouldn't do, right? For example, Steph Curry with the shot boy, he might shoot a shot that the average player don't shoot. It's because he has confidence. That confidence came from what he was doing in the gym when nobody was looking, right? So when you walk in confidence, right, you're able to confound the average person. And our confidence should be in God. Psalms 56 and verse 11. In God I have put my trust. I will not be afraid what man can do unto me. Right? So that's, the police, that's family members, that's instructors, that's teachers, that's bosses and CEOs, that's your manager, director, supervisor, right? That's your best friend. We should be able to be valiant towards anything and anybody in our life because of the love we have for God's laws, God's cities, God's people, and God Himself. Khan, good lesson.
Con, I lied to y'all. I do got two verses I want to bring out the close to. I'm gonna just read them real quick. Uh, Matter of fact, I'll just pull them up on my phone. I got two verses because both of these verses go into saying what we saying, right? Um, pull them up. But this is the book of Luke. If I can get to it, yeah, God. Book of Luke, 14. Um, and let's start at verse 26. God, the book of Luke 14, verse 26. And really, 25, the whole from 25 down to about 33, I want to say, is talking about really what it counts to be a disciple of Christ, right? So the cost of discipleship is what they title it in the Bible app. But Luke 14 and starting at 25, it says, and there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, verse 26, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple, right? The reason I read that is because again, the whole topic of valiant, you have to hate everything about you and others, right? In order to truly serve the Lord. I don't mean that means you got to look at your wife and say, I hate you. I don't mean that means you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I hate you. The I hate you is pretty much saying, I hate the things that try to separate God's purpose, right, in my life, or the attributes and characteristics that my wife carries that try to separate me or her from God's purpose. You know what I'm saying? So it's speaking figuratively, saying you have to hate them if necessary. If they want you to break the commandments of God, you got to hate them. If you look in the mirror and you realize there are things in your life that's trying to pull you away from the things of the Most High God, you got to hate yourself. You got to deny yourself, right? Uh, and the last one I'll go to, I'm staying in the book of Luke, and I'm going to go to chapter 21 real quick. Luke 21, and I'm going to read verse 15. And it says, for I will give you a mouth and wisdom which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. Oh, let's read this too. Verse 16. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren, and kinsfolk, and friends. And some of you shall they cause to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But there shall not a hair of your head perish, right? In your patience possess ye your souls. So that was Luke 21:15 through 19. And the part I want to emphasize the most was having a doctrine that our adversaries couldn't gainsay nor resist, like the brother Denal brought out. It all stems from confidence, you know, being confident. And when you're able to confidently serve the Lord, you're able to, well, I put it like this. Let me not say it backwards. Because the Lord gave us a doctrine that couldn't be gainsaid or resisted against, it should give you the utmost confidence in what you teach, what you believe, what you live by, right? When it comes to the scriptures. And because you teach, you live by, and you follow a certain way of life as the Most High set out, people will hate you and persecute you. But again, whether you live or whether you die, whether you're facing death or whether you're receiving life, at the end of the day, whatever you got to do, you got to take on cheerfully, but more so being valiant in spirit. Because at the end of the day, that's the word of life. Valiant, you know. Everything that we're going to do in life, we have to do it valiantly, especially for the name of the Lord, right? But with that, like the brother said, mighty lesson, the water for the brothers for joining on. All praises be to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob for another Sabbath day of rest. Shabbat Shalom to those who are keeping the Sabbath day. A sharp Pasak for those who are keeping the Passover right now. Happy Feast of Unleavened Bread for those who are keeping the first day of Feast of Unleavened Bread right now. Yeah, Most High willing, you all were edified in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But with that, signing off with the brothers from the Hopeful Elect, saying shalom, shalom, peace.